Now, I'm going to ask the question. I know y'all are a little young, so we're going to see if y'all can answer it. Do you know what we are?
People.
Yes, okay, I'll set myself up for that one. We are Christians. Now, I want to see if y'all know how we can be even better Christians. Or, so do y'all know anything that makes us, that we can do to be good Christians? Or even better Christians? Okay, you said yeah, and I know what you're going to say, nothing. So, but do you know something? What? Yeah, that's what I'm talking. I keep on setting myself up for all this. Well, one thing that we can do to be better Christians, what?
I know.
What?
We can be good.
Yes, we can be good. That's very good, Ace. But we can not lie. Lying doesn't make us good Christians. We can help our parents. And since the three of y'all are young, that means that all y'all need to help your moms and dads. We can help other people in the church or that we see on the street that might need help. We can love each other, like Asa Richter is showing. But there's many things we can do to make ourselves better Christians. We can pray. We can ask for help from God to do the correct things, right? You're ready to pray? Do you want to do the prayer? Do you want to do one, Asa?
I haven't prayed that in my school that I know.
Okay, well then why don't you do the prayer today?
Jesus will. Thank you for all the moms and dads, and thank you for all the parents. Thank you, God, for all the children. Amen.
Amen. The vicar was retired after 25 years in the parish. He came to clear out his bedroom and he found a small bowl with 5 eggs and $1,000 in it. Baffled, he called his wife and said, "Darling, what is this little basket under the bed with the 5 eggs and $1,000? "Oh," she said, "I must confess that every time you preach a bad sermon, I put an egg in the basket." Secretly, the vicar was quite pleased. Not bad. 25 years of preaching and only 5 bad sermons. "And what about the $1,000? He said. "Well, every time I get a dozen eggs, I sell them." Boy, wives have a way to make us really feel wanted. Now, life is full of little surprises. And I think the way that Jesus called Andrew and Peter in this morning's gospel would have been a surprise to them. Why? Because Jesus called them to be fishers of men. Why fishers of men? I think that it was more than just a pun on their occupation as fishermen. It was more than simply calling Andrew and Simon to a new trade. I believe the phrase fishers of men gives us an insight into the character required by Christ's disciples. Now, what character traits would a first century fisherman on the Lake of Galilee have to have had? Well, I can think of 3 if he was going to make a living at fishing. Adaptable, courageous, and tenacious. The first character trait was adaptability. Fishermen on the Lake of Galilee had to be adaptable depending on the amount of fish that was in their part of the lake that day. Now, let me explain here that there were 3 main methods of fishing back then. The first method would have been the use of a baited hook, used to catch 1 fish at a time. We see reference to this method of fishing made in Matthew 17. The collectors of the temple tax came to Peter and demanded Jesus' temple tax. Jesus tells Peter, go to the sea and cast a hook. Take the first fish that comes up. Open its mouth, and you will find a coin. Take that and give it to them for you and me. The second common method of fishing would be to use a cast net. There were two types of cast nets. The first was a simple cast net that formed a bag, coming to a point at the bottom. The mouth was about 3 feet in diameter and weights around it. The weights kept it open when it was thrown and closed it when it sank. It was with this net that Peter and Andrew were fishing when Jesus called them to follow him in this morning's gospel lesson. The other cast net was too heavy to be thrown, and so it would only be used by fishermen when they found themselves in the middle of a big school of fish. This type of cast net was referred to in John 21. In one of Jesus' post-resurrection appearance, Peter and the others had been fishing all night and found nothing. Jesus appeared to them at daybreak and asked them if they had caught anything, and they said no. Jesus then told them, cast the net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. And they were unable to even haul the nets into the boat. Now the third method of fishing was with a long seine or a drag net. That would be pulled behind a boat with floats on the top and weights on the bottom. It was this net that was referred to in Matthew 13 in the parable of the nets when Jesus said, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and caught fish of every kind. When it was full, they drew it ashore. A fisherman had to be adaptable with the use of his equipment. It was no good to go out and fish with equipment that was inappropriate for the amount of fish that you had in your part of the lake. Sadly, many of our churches are still fishing for men with the wrong fishing equipment. The second character trait of a fisherman was courage. Fishermen on the Lake of Galilee had to be courageous and tough. The Lake of Galilee was famous for the speed of which a storm could whip up. This was due to the mountains that surrounded the lake. Sir Charles Wilson wrote over 100 years ago describing his own experience in such a storm in the Lake of Galilee, which he referred to by its other name, Lake of Tiberias. He wrote, this morning was a delightful, a gentle easterly breeze, and not a cloud in the sky to give warning to what was coming. Suddenly, about midday, there was a sound of thunder, and a small cloud, no bigger than a man's hand, was seen rising over the heights of the mountain. In a few moments, the cloud had spread, and a heavy black mass came rolling down the hills towards the lake, completely obscuring the mountains. At this point, the breeze died away. There was a few moments of perfect calm, during which the sun shone out with intense power. The surface of the lake was smooth. Tiberias stood out in a sharp relief from the gloom behind, but it was soon lost to sight as the thunder gusts swept past them and rapidly advancing across the lake, lifting the placid water into a brief sheet of foam. In another moment, it reached Gamala, driving my companions and me to take refuge in a cistern, where for nearly an hour we were confined listening to the rattling peals of thunder and torrents of rain. Anyone prepared to go out in such an unpredictable lake had to be courageous. The church might well find itself in stormy waters as it goes out fishing for men. The question is, will we have the stomach for it? The third character trait of a fisherman was tenacity. Fishermen had to be tenacious. They had to have patience. They couldn't afford to give up if they didn't catch something immediately. They would often be out all night fishing and catch nothing. But they were persistent and would come back again and again the next day. So how can our gospel passage apply to us today? Adaptable. I believe we need, like the Galilean fishermen, we need to be adaptable in the way we present the gospel. If we want to fish successfully, we need to understand the fish in our part of the lake and use the appropriate equipment. There is no point using a baited hook when there is a school of fish. There is no point of dragging a net when there are only a few fish around. In the same way, if we want to reach this postmodern society, we cannot necessarily rely on methods of the past, which were geared in a different generation. Why do we need to be flexible in what we do? Because Jesus has only given his church one great commission: to reach the lost, to reach those outside the church. As Archbishop William Temple said, the church is the only organization that exists for the benefits of its non-members. Next, we have courageous. We need the courage and the wisdom to know when to go fishing. We need to be prepared to tell people what and why we believe, to tell our Christian story. Tenacious. Too often, we are tempted to give up because we do not see the immediate change. We too need to be tenacious in prayer, even if it takes years before we see results. Now, in conclusion, I wanted to share this little article that was written that pretty much well sums it up. I think the challenge to be fishers of men was made best by a man who by his own confession is not a Christian. And he wrote, "The New Testament offers a picture of God who does not sound at all vague. He has sent his Son to earth. He has distinct plans for each of us personally and communicate directly with us. We are capable of forming a direct relationship individually with him and are commanded to try. We are told that this can be done only through his Son, and we are offered the prospects of eternal life. An afterlife in happy, blissful, and glorious circumstances if we live this life in a certain manner." Friends, if I believe that, or even a tenth of that, how could I care which version of the prayer book is used? I would drop my job, sell my house, throw away all my possessions, leave my acquaintances, and set out into the world, burning with desire to know more, and when I had found more, to act upon it and to tell others. Far from being puzzled that the Mormons and the Adventists should knock on the door, I am unable to understand how anyone who believes that which is written in the Bible could choose to spend their waking hours in any other endeavor. That was written by Matthew Parrish, a journalist for the Sunday Times. And that is one challenge for us to look at. May you grow in the grace and knowledge of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.